The Ensombl Advice South Africa podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. All discussion is limited to publicly available information and should not be interpreted as legal, professional, or financial advice. Ensombl Advice is not a licensed financial services provider and does not provide financial services. Before making investment decisions, you should obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor.
Hi, I'm Louis van der Merwe, Certified Financial Planner. Join me every week where I get to have discussions with global leaders in the financial planning space to help you serve your clients better and run a more efficient financial planning practice. This is Financial Planners South Africa podcast.
Portfolio Metrics is thrilled to bring you this podcast in support of our common passion for people and the evolution of wealth management. Our global business links precision investment management to expert financial advice through partnerships and technology. Portfolio Metrics is an authorized financial services provider. ComSpace is a revenue management solution developed specifically for independent financial advisors. It is a web-based application that tracks, allocates, and manages advisor revenue. The system seamlessly reads commission statements from financial institutions and can address any permutation of commission splits. ComSpace provides mind-blowing, out-the-box revenue business intelligence and analytics, along with super flexible reporting to effectively manage and grow your business.
Welcome to another episode of Ensombl Advice South Africa. Today is a really special episode for me because it goes back to more than 2 years. My very first guest, Mr. Russell Ho, is back on the show to talk about how things have evolved over the last 2 years, how he's gone a little bit more deeper, how his approach has changed. And Russell, I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Louis, for having me on the podcast again. Jeez, I can't believe it's been 2 years. I feel old, but I'm still young. And I think both of us really grown over the last 2 years, especially during COVID and all the things that happened last year as well. You know, I'm sure we've definitely grown a lot, both personally, but also more in practice and how we help clients.
So Russell, I mean, as we were prepping for this call and we were touching on how you're almost living life through your clients. Now you're picking up on these things that they're going through to be able to give them better advice. I want to start off with the fact that I'm seeing people shift away from the money, that they're moving more towards advising someone on their life and the money just happens to be there. Like, what have you seen in your client base? What are the themes that people are really struggling with right now?
Yeah, so I 100% agree with you. I mean, me and my practice, we kind of made that shift, more than 2 years ago. And it's also been kind of my philosophy when I advise and help clients is that, it's all nice to say, I want to invest to become wealthy. But my notion has always been like, okay, but what is that wealth going to give you? Is it going to give you freedom? Is it going to give you security? And a lot of times, we've seen it in our experience as well when advising clients, there's a deeper reason or meaning. My parents, especially my mom, used to always say, you can make all the money in the world, but when you die, you can't take it with you, So that's the thing that I've also, advised and coached a lot of clients of okay, you want to do these type of goals or achieve these things with your money. What return on life or what is it add into your life? How is it going to make you better or give you, make you feel better about things that are planned ahead? And it's getting deeper now where we've spoken about as well, of going into more the behavior and the personality of clients. Especially in my experience, it's going more past, you can set up investments or these type of, financial solutions. But at the end of the day, if you don't have an intended purpose or a deep intent behind it, eventually as a human, you find it meaningless, or unpurposeful, So it takes longer than to stay committed to your plans in that.
I'm seeing the same on my side. It's this focus on, hey, we need to get this transaction done. And it's almost helping that client just to zoom out a little bit and say, well, what is this for? There's been a shift away from, hey, we're focusing on your money to more, let's make sure that you're healthy and that you're still there for your family, assuming that, you're not going through a time-limiting illness. You've gone through a bit of a health journey yourself. Are you using this as a, the poster child for your clients, like saying, hey, we're not only preaching about this, we are living this.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and I've seen it with clients as well where, like they say, money is just basically a tool and it's supposed to bring things or allow you to do things that you couldn't do before in your life, that bring you happiness and joy. And a good example, like, you mentioned my fitness journey, or going back to like my health, I've been in that situation, I can finally remember it was like 2017 when I first took the leap and I went independent and I grafted my butt off. Like I was grafting just on, making profits, earning money and all that. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do as much business as I can that year. And the downside of that, and it's probably was the first wake-up call that I got, the first and last wake-up call I got was that, I had put on back then, this was before, for those who follow me, this was before the bodybuilding show and my whole fitness reversion, last year. But like back then, because I was so focused on just like earning money and then, making sales or making business, my weight, I would say my health suffered a lot, and not just my physical health, but my emotional and mental well-being. I can still clearly remember I looked squashed up in my suits, I had put on like 20 kgs. So I had gone back from, your late 70 kgs up until probably close to like 90. I was rich out in my face, my skin, my well-being was affected. And it was mainly because I was so focused on the business only and, doing business that I eventually also became depressed because I used to take my civilian clothes, or my civvies as they call it, to work so that I could change after hours in the bathroom and then work a few more hours after hours. And then I would come in on the weekends. And, initially that was my link of when I realized like, just constantly working and trying to chase money doesn't bring you happiness, because at the end of that year, I was so depressed. Like I probably went in depression without realizing it. I was depressed. I was burnt out because, I didn't feel happy, at heart. And aside from like the weight, the emotional, unwellness, and also the mental aspect of it, I just wasn't in a good space. And at the start of, the following year, I was like, no, I need to get things back in check. And I've seen it with clients as well. Coming back to like my whole recent fitness journey as well, I started seeing that your physical, mental, emotional well-being, to a degree actually is more important than your financial well-being. Because if you don't have those three things, money is not really going to be an important factor in your life. It'll be worthless. As I call it, it'll be just meaningless paper, at the end of the day, because it's not giving you any internal value. Some numbers somewhere.
Ones and zeros in the bank. I mean, Russell, like as you're talking about this, I sense this like lack of energy, almost, hey, you were grinding through this. And I think the way the industry, and I'd say that specifically, like is set up for us to chase money at the beginning, they all almost assume that coming to this profession to sell things, where when I speak to successful financial planners and lifestyle financial advisors, like they're not in it for the money. Like, yes, the money is good, but they're in it for helping someone, like making a difference in their lives. And that is a massive reward by itself. Is that something you have been experiencing since this shift? Like a different sense of what is rewarding for you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not going to go deep into like that history and that whole period, but like that following year was like what I've mentioned before, when I had all those chronic illnesses with my family members and that. And after going through that experience, I made the shift of like, I'm going to put my client and their lives at the center of everything. And I'm not going to worry about making money. I'm just going to earnestly and sincerely worry about like helping them as an individual. And the way I see it, that's also where I would say I encapsulate my advice philosophy more, is that I started seeing every client, and I know it sounds weird, but I started seeing every client as an extension of my family, basically. So every, person that came in could be a father, a son, a brother, a mother, a daughter, a grandmother. And they had all these people that were dependent on them or were involved in their lives. And our simple, I wouldn't say simple, but I would say our job or our duty is more than just doing work. It's like advising those clients and coaching them through all these changes in life, because yeah, we fortunate to a degree that because of our profession, for whatever life throws at us and lifestyle events, we can plan and we more than usually ready for those type of things. But we forget that 99% of our clients don't have anyone that's in that field or doesn't have a financial planner. They don't have that type of person in their family. So without us, imagine how much more loss there would be going through those type of life events, and I'm talking good and bad, and it's not just, I've also seen it as, it's not just the present generation of your clients that you're dealing with. The actions and advice we give to our clients now have the ability to actually affect future generations. My dream is always also like the advice and coaching I give to my clients now. I want few decades down the line, like their great grandkids to say, yeah, I'm in this good space and I know how to manage my money and I know how to live a purposeful life because my great grandfather came in contact with Russell and his team, and that changed his whole aspect, on life and also on how to use his money to build a purposeful life.
Russell, I want to point out that just there, you didn't place the focus on you. You placed the focus on, hey, that family member, the great-great-great-grandfather, had the insight and the wisdom to actually seek out counsel and this kind of, seek advice, not just said, oh, I know everything and I'm going to go forward and just do this. And I want to talk a bit about, as we progress in our profession, that you tend to deal with slightly more complex clients. Yet what you're saying is that we need to somehow help people that maybe don't have access to professional advice. How do you find that balance between wanting to earn more, deal with more complex things and things that, maybe someone else doesn't deal with, yet there's this mass of clients, specifically in the South African context, that really, really need professional advice? How do we balance those two?
Yeah, I would say that's probably like the biggest challenge facing our country. We have such a huge lack of financial education and literacy, and it's been said many times, over the last couple of years within this country. I mean, the scary thing I'm seeing, for example, is like, and not technically retirement, but people just aren't investing enough, and I've seen that over the last couple of months. And I would say balancing that between, and I'm speaking to both financial planners out there, but also clients just in general, because we want to make good financial advice accessible. But I do also understand from a financial planner, we have to earn a fee because we only have a set number of hours and we have businesses to run. And at the same time, in order to give great service, we have a lot of business overheads we have to accommodate for. So I think to meet that blend, what we started doing as well is that, we could incorporate a lot of technology that we didn't used to have access, or I would say our older seniors didn't used to have access to many years ago. And that's things like, to kind of build more awareness, you can do, like me and you do it, we could do like more public talks, webinars, or put our social media content out there that is, basically like, how do you go about investing, just to kind of help educate and teach a lot of clients that maybe can't afford our services. And the idea of where we're looking at it now, especially with technology and AI and robo advice, which I know a lot of my peers out there are like, don't really want to talk about. We've explored the option where it's possible to use robo-advice, AI and technology to help maintain and get in contact with, say, the clients that have a simple financial situation and maybe they don't need to see you or have a full and detailed meeting as what you would do with your more complex families. But at least there's that contact where they can still follow you and learn from your social content. And then when their lifestyle does get more complicated, and I'm talking about as they progress in life. So a good example is, for us is like, and I'll even say this for like the client themselves for their benefit, a student that says they've got a bit of savings and they want to learn to invest, or they want assistance on how to invest that money. Now, to also save that student on fees, I would say like, there's content out there, or we would put our content that they can learn from how to invest by themselves through something like Easy Equities or Signia or Alan Ray by themselves, their platform. But then have that contact of that communication of, you can still follow me, you can still get into contact with me on social media, just so that you have an open channel, so that when you get to that phase in life where you start working, you've qualified from varsity, you start working, you get a job or you buy a house. As your life gets more complicated and you feel like the need to seek out proper advice, then you can obviously reach out to me and we can set up a consult, and then, basically you can pay for our services based on whatever fee option appears to you, whether it's based on products, hourly, or a retainer basis. And then that also ensures that we're mainly in contact with the younger generation or new younger clients, but also that, that we're still able to service our more complex clients that have more complexities. And the whole point of that, I think, as well, is that it always puts the assurance out there to the public that you can always have access to good advice, but also for their own interest. I don't want them to be loaded with fees or things like that that's unnecessary, that they don't need, depending on their phase of their lifestyle, So I think that's a good balance, because also I know some of the consumers of public feel like, but good advice is only for the rich, and it's unattainable, inaccessible. There's a lot of channels, especially through the Financial Planning Institute and through LinkedIn, all of us on LinkedIn, that people can go out and seek, look up good planners who they can reach out to, and stay in contact through that,
It does bring in a bit of a challenge around, hey, I found all this information and now I'm going to my financial planner. You've taught me how to do things on my own. How do you teach them to know when their complexity exceeds the minimum requirements, right? Like, when would a client know that, hey, they're ready to deal with Russell? And also, how do you think about that when your career might evolve 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line? Like, what are you seeing in the future that you can communicate to these future potential clients to say, hey, when you're ready and when I'm ready, like, let's meet? Or is it more, let's just stay in touch and we'll figure out as we progress? Like, share with me how you think about this future prospect dilemma.
Okay. So I'll put myself back in that type of client shoe and let me just think back if I was a student. Probably if I had to look back, and the way I say it, just based on experience as well, I would say the first point to answer your first part of your question of like, when do I seek out a plan or when do I need advice, is the moment I start feeling anxious about managing my money. Say I start investing, I start with a normal unit trust, and I'm like, hey, okay, I've gotten some inheritance money. I started working now. There's a few areas there that I might need advice. First, 9 times out of 10, most of my clients, when they start working, they don't know how to read a payslip. So they're not sure what tax is. They're not sure why am I getting less than what I was told I was getting paid. So if I would say tax planning is a very big part of like what we do. That's an avenue where you as a client could say, as a client, I would say like, okay, I don't understand this. And the income tax is just full of Greek and jargon. Maybe I need to reach out to a planner for like one session just to break it down for me. And then also coming back to the investments, as your portfolio starts getting bigger and now you find like, okay, I'm looking into more than just, just a tax-free savings, shares, all this, and you have more money there and it's now connected to what you're earning. I find, in my opinion now, especially in today's environment and how not rocky, but I would say how volatile markets have been over the last 2 years. The moment you start saying to yourself, I wish I had someone to chat to, kind of not validate, but I guess soundboard my thoughts if I'm on the right track. We have it all the time where we talk amongst each other. We're like, is my mind on the right track? And you won't believe it. Like, I think a lot of my clients, when they start going through that phase, that's when most of them reach out or they tell me they started reaching out to me because now they have biases, like behavioral biases that they follow, but also in addition to that, they can't make rational decisions. And as humans, we have a lot of emotions involved. So the moment you start thinking, okay, I need someone else to tell me, am I thinking correctly? Or, is there something wrong with the way I'm thinking? Then that's when you should seek out a financial planner. Going forward, I would say to kind of accommodate those younger clients. So what we are doing on our side, I can kind of share it with you, is that, with every planner, you are eventually going to get younger clients. You can't really just turn away younger clients, especially if you're dealing with families and those families have kids or grandkids. So there's 2 avenues that we are looking at. Yeah, occupational hazard. There's 2 avenues I've planned and I've kind of seen it from I've kind of like thought about it quite a few years back, and it's like in my career planner. And just a disclosure, I'm not married. I don't have kids. But I always thought since I was young as well, and I got into this industry, two things we want to do is like, and we're also going to make it online. It's like have a client online portal where a learning portal in a sense, and you can even utilize like a YouTube channel. It's like where you would put out lessons, short lessons as well, nothing too complex or hectic. And that would be a way of, you could even set up a course, but that would be a way of giving education and awareness to your younger clients that maybe you can't see as much as your more complex clients, because you don't have, you have a limited amount of time. And that's how you still, aside from gaining contact, that's also how you continue to add value. I saw that, for example, from Ali Abdal. That's how he scaled his productivity business, is that he turned most of his skill sets or education into courses so that that's information that will always be relevant. But then he would position that to his clientele or his market consumers that maybe he doesn't have time anymore to do one-on-one sessions, and they'll buy that, learn that, and then there'll be a progression of like, okay, if you need further advice or you want a coaching session, you can move up to another level. So that's where we're thinking, using social media and building our own courses. And then secondly, another thought that I've been planning for a while that I've mentioned earlier, and this is also to kind of accommodate the whole transfer of generational wealth between clients, because I've seen that in our industry where, advisors deal with the parents, they lose the connection, or they don't have a connection with like the kids or the grandkids. And, unfortunately, eventually your clients are going to pass away or retire. Most of that wealth transfers over to the younger generation, and then it's lost. And now you have no connection with those kids, I always thought as well, I want to do is start boarding family camps or workshops for my clients where it'll be like a weekend getaway, something really children relax. I'm not talking like a budget speech type of weekend, but like something children relax where it would be a value add to our clients where we'll do family camps. And at those family camps, in a very simplistic manner, your child will learn some form of, I would say, financial habit or foundation, something as compound interest or how it works. But to also add to that, and that's another big thing I've learned as an entrepreneur and also like in our industry, we would also bring, good positive influences or businessmen or entrepreneurs to kind of open their perspective on like things as well, so that they also build a strong network. That's one thing I've noticed with like, especially being in America where they have all these Ivy League universities. Yes, a lot of those people go and do the MBAs at those Ivy League universities for the education, but more so what I've learned from some of them is that it's more about building their networks so that they have a strong network as soon as they go out into the world. And it's all about our whole culture. What we're looking at is building a culture and I would say a zone of learning for our clients, the kids and the grandkids, and also their families in years to come, because a lot of us stop learning the moment we get past varsity level, but also more so, I believe that is actually what is true generational wealth, is the passing down of wisdom and education, not the passing down of money. Like if you leave your child 5 million rand, right, and they don't know anything about money, that 5 million rand's gone, basically. They could blow that 5 million rand in like a month and it's gone. That's not true generational wealth. True generational wealth to me is like education and wisdom and experiences that you're passing down to your kids from early ages so that they know how to use it in their life.
So Russell, a lot of the benefit you will probably never see, right? You have this unknown future payoff that will come when you're not here. Like, I find that quite interesting because in a world where we want instant gratification, we want things now, like that your view is very much aligned with that patient investor that says there will be a payoff in the future. And I think it's wonderful. Like one thing that I did pick up that you said there's your career planner, and you might have thought, he missed that. He didn't hear that. I want to know, what is that? Like, what does your career planner look like? Have you plotted out the future of Russell Ho in the financial services industry?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, actually, it's probably what I did this last December. Is I have my own career planner, and most people generally think, okay, it's like when I get to like certain positions, I want to earn certain amounts. My point has always been, and I've always had this notion, is like, and it's something I took from my late mom as well. It's like, if I had to pass away tomorrow, like, what do I want to be remembered and known for, right? And for me, and I remember this funny as well, my mom was like, do you just people won't remember these type of people, but do you just want to be remembered for someone that earned a lot of money, or do you want to be remembered for, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's something that I resonate with, is like for someone that truly impacted lives of like others, even when you're not here, and I've seen it in current present day where, like they always say, you don't know what's being said in rooms when you're not there. Is that I've had clients or referrals, or I've been to events and people are like, so-and-so spoke very highly of you, and they said all these good things. And it's not specifically just because of my job or some traits relating to my job as a financial planner, but it's traits more to like me as a person. And me personally, I think that's kind of part of my career plan as well. Is like with a lot of my clients, they would tell you as well, which probably is why, I've built a good client base, and I still need to do a lot of work. But probably the greatest compliment I've gotten from a client is like, it feels nice for the first time that a financial planner has put me first. And it's like, they actually found it really touching that I saw them as an extension of my family. Because I put out this post the other day, and it was based off advice that I had given to a client, was that any advice I give you, I wouldn't give, if I wouldn't give that advice to any of my immediate family members, I wouldn't give it to you, So it's like, I would rather, if it's something that we do with your finances or any form of advice, I would look at it, okay, would I offer this to my own family? And if not, then I wouldn't recommend or advise it to you either, because you're an extension of my family. And that's part of the family advice philosophy I have. So coming back to the career planner, like I've set out when I do have kids, it's a long-term thing, and probably I will see more. I won't see most of the benefit here, in my lifetime, but I would say it's a change or shift I will make of like, and it's more focus around the life and coaching of my clients than just saying, the old traditional way, which gave ownership, and it was like, how many products or policies can I sell this client, or how much commission I can make the client. It's like, the way I've seen it, and it's not just say, again, with Xhosa cultures, but especially with a lot of my young Black professionals that come from a history of Black tax, and they have that circle where like, they struggle to break away and have financial freedom or do the things for their lives because of the Black tax and, their cultural circumstances. It's not just them, but I've seen it with other clients from other cultures where they have, because their parents or their great-grandparents didn't have access to good advice or education, they unfortunately are brought up or raised with, poor financial and lifestyle habits. And the way I've seen it as part of my career plan is like, if I can help them break out of those habits, imagine how much value, how much, that client would appreciate it, because you not only helped them, but you helped like their kids and future generations instead of let it continue on. We always talk about like, it's easy to talk on social media of like, you shouldn't do this, those are bad habits. But we don't realize how hard it is for families that come from this cultural backgrounds, where they've been raised that way, to kind of just adopt a new way of thinking and a new way to like their life. And if you can help them break out of it, comes back to like, my plan is like, even with I'm not here, and hopefully, there's no pressure on kids, my future kids, but if I have my kids that I would generally like to succeed in my practice, and I want to just be like a mentor or whatever, but if I'm not here, I want to eventually, it sounds bold, but I would like my kids to be eventually coaching, doing what I do, the life work I'm doing, and coaching like the clients of the kids of my clients, sorry. Yeah. And for that to me is my form of legacy that I want to leave. Not just a legacy to me is not money. It's the impact that you want to continuously make on people's lives.
And Russell, that impact is massive. You might not always know it, but the stories that we hear from our clients and, how one small thing that you've helped them to overcome or to change has had this ripple effect, this kind of dominoes falling and having a bigger impact. As we talk about this, there's this idea around, if you have the knowledge, doesn't necessarily mean that you can implement it. Otherwise, if knowledge was all it took, everyone would have six packs and would be millionaires, right? So we're dealing with an element of change with our clients where, like you rightly said, it's the emotional changes. It's that insight to say, hey, I need a sounding board. I need someone to talk to. What are the things that are coming up in your client conversations that have maybe surprised you? Like, hey, why is this person talking to me? What are the challenges that you're seeing with your clients?
Yeah, so the challenges I'm seeing with my clients, and, planners like ourselves would probably, share that or vouch that we probably are all experiencing the same thing with the clients. But people forget or don't realize how personal our job is actually with clients, because after you build that level of trust and rapport, you'd be amazed by how much your clients open up to you. I think over the last year or 2 years, especially, there's been a lot. I've had a lot of clients that have opened up to me. A big thing amongst my professional younger clients is imposter syndrome and doubt, especially from my burnout impression. So I find a lot of my roles in the lives of clients is a very supporting role. It's kind of giving them assurance of it's okay if you feel bad or you feel that way or you feel down, like to communicate that. Another thing I've learned just in general when advising or coaching clients is we sometimes forget to do this, but just be human with your clients, you might not realize it, but a lot of clients see us as planners as we live a perfect lifestyle. They think your finances are perfect, you're wealthy, literally you've got no rainy days in your life. Your life is perfect. And I've come to you as a client because I've got so much problems. Can't we trade places? And to kind of further break down that wall with a lot of clients, I would say I've opened up a lot to my clients, and not just my whole life. I'm probably selective experiences that are relatable to what they're going through, to form a deeper human connection, because that's what clients come to us for. They don't get that out of AI or robot, is that they want that human connection, with you as a planner, and they have that trust in you of I've seen with clients, aside from imposter syndrome, there's been incidences where a lot of them go through big lifestyle changes. And a big thing I've seen with a lot of my clients is, young couples, they get married and they have kids. They don't know how to handle it or how to prepare for it. So we were saying before we went on live, I'm co-parenting probably 10 couples at the moment, clients. Because when they come to me, when they have that firstborn, and they'll be okay, Russell, we had a child now. What would you do in our situation? And first I'll be I'm not a parent. I don't have kids. But if I was in your shoes and what I know now, and if I had a son, this is what I would do. And it's not just the whole point, the whole aspect of investing early for your kids, but it's a whole point of also my 2 cents of what I would do in your shoes when it comes to raising my child, things to be aware of, things to prepare of. And obviously I tell them look, I'm not a parent, I'm not a qualified parent, but I'm just sharing my opinion or my insight that hopefully can help you. So I've dealt with
Russell,
things like that.
From what you've picked up from other clients, what they say have worked for their kids, or where's this wisdom coming from?
I would say, it's 50-50, Part of the wisdom is coming from a lot of my older clients, and, some of them have done okay or quite well in their lives, but also they've had, I wouldn't say regrets, but things they wish they did better when they were younger. And the other 50% of that wisdom is also just coming from, I sound old when I say this, but I don't know if it's because I'm 32 now, but growing up, I'm so young at heart, but I would say my perspective of life has changed a lot, in the sense of, I've seen what my parents did for me when I was small. And, obviously a big, component of that was a lot of our parents didn't have access to good advice and financial education. So when it comes to when I look at their situation, and even other older relatives, there's so much regret I would say wishes they had if they met someone that could have taught them how to manage their money earlier, according to what they wanted in life. So it comes back to what I know financially smart, but also from my own experiences of what I would do if I had a child, basically, or a son, and not just to give him a, financially set life or stable life, but more so of what type of life I want my child to live, a life of purpose and intent, and not to have feel pressured by societal measures and things like that, So I would say that's probably where that wisdom is coming. It's still probably growing or molding, because I am learning every day. But it's probably events like that, that I'm doing a lot with clients, and obviously your typical as well, clients that are retiring, thoughts they have, family complexities. People don't believe this, but we do more therapy than financial crunchy, number crunchy. We do more financial and life therapy than financial crunchy, and I deal with a lot of clients as well. Lastly is clients that are, day-to-day things, trying to appease their parents, family relations. Sometimes it's conflicts between the client's family and the in-laws and things like that. And it's kind of just being that soundboard of like, okay, calm down. I know how you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. But what can you learn from this, and what good thing can we try and, better your situation practically?
I love how you've become this conduit for not the knowledge that you've acquired from a technical perspective or through your studies, but the knowledge and the insight that you've acquired from clients that have lived life, and that we can now say, hey, this is what I'm seeing from our clients, purely because you're showing up that way and you've done the work internally to be able to do that. But it brings a whole different level of value, something that you can't probably put on a business card and say, hey, we bring wisdom and insight so that you can live a better life. But it's something that I'm seeing from really successful financial planners and just people that have lived a great life, is where they can take away from other people and share that, not being prescriptive and say, hey, you need to do this and this and this. But these are the themes that really make someone live a purposeful and intent life, which is wonderful. Like, what are you working on to further own this skill? Like you said that you're constantly working on it. Like, what is it that you're doing on a daily basis at the moment?
Yeah, so I would say, well, also just to your point, like 100% agree. And I think I just want to put it out there. I know, and I was like this in my first year of like being in the field, and this is like my 9th year of being in the industry. But yeah, so I'm almost a veteran. But like, I know there will be planners out there who will say, oh, but we're not life coaches, Russell. We're not therapists. We're financial planners. True. And myself 9 years ago would have agreed with you. But then in today's times, if you think about it and all that we've gone through, you can't say you don't add a personal or human touch to it, because at the end of it, like, it's without, looking into like the person or the individual and their lives, you're not actually, and you're trying to focus on like their money or the product, then you're actually not focusing on the person at all. And then eventually what I find, I haven't experienced it, but I've seen it in practice with other practices. A lot of those type of, practices or planners, they eventually lose clients. And we've had a few clients that have come to us where they said, I came to you because you're not focused on my money or my net worth, you focus on me, right? And there's no discrimination against me depending on like how much I earn and so forth. You focusing on like my life and what I want to do with the pay or salary I'm earning and the money that I have to live a purposeful life. So you have to look into that person, because in the summary and the simplicity of it is like, if you don't focus on the individual, the client, and you're like, I don't do that mushy stuff like life coaching of learning or speak to like their emotions, I number crunch and all that. With today's technology, eventually like the client will be like, so what am I paying you for if I can just do that through AI or a robot or an app? I don't need you then, basically. But also in addition to that, your client won't stay, stick to their financial plans and goals, which you've spent hours drawing up for them, because there's no intent or deeper purpose to them. They eventually might even see it as like, it's a grudge plan because I'm forced to do
Russell's
this.
plan.
Yeah, it's Russell's plan. I think that's a big thing I've also like noticed is that, and what we've adapted over the years is that instead of trying to do plans with your approach, the mistake there is that you're making financial plans based on like what appeals to you as a financial advisor or planner, when in fact we should be collaborating with our clients and saying, yes, I'm here to be your conduit and your soundboard, but let's build your life plan together, because I'm building this plan for your life. I'm not building it for my life. And there's no point, if it benefits me, it's supposed to benefit you. Otherwise, eventually you're not going to stick to it, because you'll get bored and you'll be like, doesn't interest me. So I think just to that point, I want to add on there. And then coming back to your question about what am I doing on a day-to-day basis to kind of boil this, we've kind of shared a lot. So I'm doing a lot of like studies and reading up and listening to podcasts and upskilling, I would say, my behavior coaching skills and behavioral finance. I think it's almost going into a bit of psychology, and it used to be, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but like overlooked many, many years ago, because, financial planning was seen as just number crunching or numbers and products and policies. But over the last couple of years, we find out that our job is focusing more on the person, their emotions and their behaviors. And to understand that, you actually need to understand the human at the forefront. So yeah, I would say currently now I'm looking into a lot of like behavior coaching courses. I'm listening to, Brendan Fraser's podcast quite a bit, and Michael Kitts is up there. things around the behavior of a client, because what I also realized, you can get all the top financial qualifications out in the world, but if you can't connect with your client on a human level and you don't have the social and human skills to do that, then it's wasteful being a financial planner. Then you must go into like asset management, where you just work with stats and figures the whole day. So yeah, I would say currently, we busy like upskilling on looking at programs, and this is all stuff that's done behind the scenes and people don't see, but it's continuous courses, learning. I've been sharing and networking with a lot of lifestyle financial planners out of South Africa to kind of get an idea of like what is their approach, where are they learning from, how they deal with things. To also, I think that's a big pool of like knowledge or wisdom, because you can get an idea of like how they see things versus you perceive things. And then also I would say on a day-to-day basis in practice, like just dealing and consulting with clients and putting myself in like their shoes and what they're going through in their life situations, and being able to like, again, as a Ensombl, what do you think if we had to do this? How do you feel about this? Things like that.
Russell, I want to say thank you for sharing this new approach that you're taking. It's evident that you really care about your clients, and that if you care about your clients, you do whatever is necessary to help them. If that maybe means wearing a life planner hat or wearing a psychologist hat, not that we're playing doctor or armchair psychologist, but that we're acquiring those skills to really help them. And I want to applaud that. I want to challenge everyone listening to this to say, what can we learn from other professions where if we bring it into our practice, it makes everything easier, or it makes everything a little bit better. Russell, I look forward to having you again on the show. And with that, I'm going to give you a virtual high five and just say thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Louis. Thanks for having me on the show. And I hope everyone can take something away from this podcast.